Okay, welcome everyone to our Wisdom of the Heart video series. And today we're welcoming back Karen Floyd, who's been a guest on Wisdom of the Heart and also our Heart to Heart series before. And she's joining us from Austin, Colorado, and we have a great topic today. It's going to be embracing our true power. So I'm going to go ahead and give it over to Karen. She's going to start us off with a couple of passages, I believe, from the Prelude.
Yeah, thanks, Lynn. Yeah, this topic of our true power is really near and dear to my heart. So, and I'm going to emphasize, it starts with the Prelude at 34. The content of God is love. And I'm going to emphasize the content means the essence. The essence of God is love. Jesus embodied God by embodying love. He came to reverse the way God was thought of, to put an end to seeing God in human terms of vengeance, punishment, and judgment. Jesus did this not only by embodying God in human form, but by giving a true rather than a false picture of power. Before the coming of the Word was made flesh, the incarnation, the only idea humankind could draw of an all-powerful being was a being whose power resembled the powerful among them. Jesus took such a stand against those with this kind of power that he was put to death. But Jesus did not advocate for a powerless people. Jesus taught true power, the power of love, a power proven by the resurrection. Jesus united the Christ in you is he who can teach you who you are and how to live as who you are in a new world. He can open heaven to you and walk you through its gates, there to exchange this world at last for your true home. But it is not your body that will pass through these heavenly gates, nor your body's eyes that will view the new world you will behold and take with you. To view a physical world of dimension, shape, and scope like unto the old, and hope to transport it from one place to another would be delusional. The new world does not have to do with form, but with content, essence. A content that is as transferable as an author's words upon a page.
Beautiful.
Wow. Yeah, that just, ooh, can you feel the essence of those words and what they're pointing to and holding?
Mm-hmm.
Just that love is what transforms everything. It's not the worldly idea of power. The Jews wanted him to become king and fight and rival the current king. They wanted the power they saw in the world, but the true power is love. And that doesn't mean, turn over. That means stand up and be like the Christ, and able to embrace and accept what you find and to see the love through whatever it is presenting.
Yeah, I love that. And I like the way it's emphasized that our true power is owning that power, which is our true God self, our true divinity. And it's not an ego, personal self power that we're being called to embrace. It's the power, it's the power of love. Yeah.
Actually, in order to get to it, we can't embrace it until we drop the concept of having a small identity or an ego. An ego really is just a belief in separation, not the Freudian idea like we've spoken of before. It's not, the one that runs the show. It's the mistaken limited identity that we've grabbed hold of through the belief that we're separate
Yeah.
from fear. So there is no ego. There is just an idea of separation that we call ego. When we let go of the idea or the belief in separation, we become once again reunited with Christ consciousness that we are, the Christ in us, just like Jesus was. And we live in that power of the capital self, you know, the big self, the higher self, or the self of elevated form, as the Course of Love calls it.
Yeah.
And it's not about the body. It's not about being arrogant. It's not about pumping anything up. It's about dropping the illusion of separation and stepping into the union that has never left us.
Yeah, I love that. And yeah, I agree with you. I was going to just point out that the line that always spoke to me in A Course in Miracles, well, there's actually two, but the one that says that our only real problem is our belief in separation. And that's what the false identity, ego self in A Course in Miracles is that veils over or obscures the truth of who we are. And so in A Course in Miracles, you know, we're given, you know, the true forgiveness process. And as we move through that, we're letting go of these layers and layers of patterns and ego identification. And that's the only true problem is the belief in separation. And for a long time, I thought, you know, that's all I ever heard of was the Freudian ego of psychoanalysis. But that's not what, you know, the Course in Miracles is referring to. And so I'm glad you brought that point out. And then once we are able to drop this false identity and keep hanging on to it, letting that go, not hanging on to it, but letting that go, then and only then I feel that we are able to stand or live in that true power. And what I wanted to yeah, there's another line too about the kingdom of heaven is within you. There was also something that was brought up in A Course in Miracles that said that the ego believes that the kingdom of heaven is within you. It doesn't make any sense because it looks like there's something outside of us that's actually inside of us. Right. And then it says, well, the word within is unnecessary because the kingdom of heaven is you. And so that just, you know, points me back. It's an inwardly directed experience. It points me back to the inner self, the true self, the capital S.
And when you experience moments, as my experience has been moments of this awareness, you know, feels to me like it's been a process of letting go and receiving, you know, giving up and receiving, giving and receiving being one. In the experience of this power, you are humbled. There is no arrogance that can be associated with love. Love is the most humbling experience you can have. It is one of equality. It is one of abundance. You know, so there is no arrogance associated at all with the confidence one has from knowing that separation is an illusion and the truth is oneness and union. And experiencing that union is so empowering, but at the same time, it's humbling.
Love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's humbling. There's a deep humility in it because the personal identity, the personal self is dissolving. And you know, you're in complete humility and humble before the universal will of God. And so that was another point that I wanted to bring up is that owning our true power is also involves trust and surrender,
Mhm.
because it's getting that my personal self out of the way, yet trusting and surrendering to this moment, aligning with the universal will of God, not my will, but thy will be done. And
Well,
that again is true humility.
yes, and it's the humility is right there with the realization, and the realization just bonds, like being a beloved and a lover of God at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when I drop the belief in separation, i.e., ego, when I drop the belief in separation and choose to believe the truth, which is nothing is separate, everything is a relationship and connected, and that becomes a oneness in my
Mm-hmm.
experience, then there's nothing but me. Even God says, "Who am I to you? Who are you to me?" But one. And so,
Mm-hmm.
talk about rapture. I mean, if the relationship between God and I, when I'm creating, it's like
Mm-hmm.
I'm being fed and I'm feeding back. I'm being
Yeah.
fed and I'm feeding back, and there's this dance of
Mm-hmm.
connection, and so Thy will ceases to be something outside myself. Thy will is my will,
Mm-hmm.
because we are one. So
Yes.
when thy will becomes my will and they merge, you are experiencing true power.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the complete alignment. Yeah, you're totally aligned with the universal will,
Yeah.
and I like to say that it's a complete connection to the living waters of truth. You're in that flow from that which flows from the well of spirit. And what I
We,
wanted to, yeah, go ahead.
we are the living waters.
Yes,
You know, this,
yes.
this this idea of separation and our languaging, our words create duality because
Mm-hmm,
we've got the prepositions on, beside, all that stuff, right?
mm-hmm,
But oneness doesn't really have a language. It's more of an expression, an essence. And we experience that essence when we let go of an opposing, contrary belief that is an illusion. So all
mm-hmm,
we need to do is let go of the belief in separation. Now I say all that we need to do. Well, that's everywhere. And
mm-hmm,
we look everywhere, there's other, you know. So that belief goes pretty deep.
mm-hmm.
Everything we look at seems to be, oh, here I am, there you are. So that belief in separation, that we're not together, it goes very deep.
Mm-hmm.
As we let go, thread by thread by thread, the thread we take out of that belief, we sew into the truth. We return to the truth. And we build that foundation that's always been there, but we make it real for ourselves by letting go of this illusion.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I used to sing love songs to God on the playground, but I didn't go to church. My
Mm-hmm.
family wasn't religious, but I had this connection and I felt it. And then it just seemed like it wasn't supported, by people.
Mm-hmm.
So I really fell from remembering who I was to going, wow, I guess I am alone. I did
Mm-hmm.
feel alone. And I think a lot of people do when they're,
Yeah.
you know, in this physical world, which is not a bad place. It's not wrong to incarnate. There's nothing wrong. There was just a uh, misidentification.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, starting to see everything as other than we, like everything is separate than we. And I think that's the outward focus. The mind patterns and the conditioning it's a mental outward focus. It pulls you outwardly, whereas now we're being directed back inwardly to
Mm-hmm.
claim our true inheritance, to claim the power that love that lies within us. And what I wanted to bring up was in day 10 power. There's a great passage, and it talks about certainty and confidence. And what it says here, that certainty is knowing that the power exists, and confidence is the expression of your reliance upon it. And to rely on your own power is to rely on the connection between the self of form and the self, capital S, of union. And two, through this reliance, tie the two together so that there is no seam, there's no boundary, and there's no remaining separation. And the way I'm seeing this now is that, you know, it's a constant vigilance for the kingdom. So it's an internal directed experience for me, is to be here now. So the way I'm starting with anything right now when there's a disturbance arising is to be in this present moment. And that involves trust and surrender to whatever is moving through. And that's an alignment with the universal will. So whatever is arising right now in this moment, if it's a disturbance or whatever it is, it's just to notice that, and then to be vigilant for the kingdom and realize that it's all arising in this moment, and that I have that choice to choose again and to be here now and align with my own power.
Yeah, and it's not aligning with your own power against what's happening. It's knowing what's happening is also you. There is no other. When you realize there is no other, it's just you unfolding. Like, you know, a house of mirrors, you know, and that could be like, everywhere you look, there's a you. Well, guess what? Yeah. And that's a wonderful thing. When we learn to love ourselves and accept whatever it is we're feeling, we no longer run away from the truth of who we are. And I think, you know, Marianne Williamson said, we're not afraid of our darkness, we're afraid of our light. And so many of us have been in counseling, survivors of trauma. We know our dark side. We'll tell a stranger about our shadow in a second, but we won't tell our best friends about the power that lives within us. You know, we're really comfortable talking about, you know, the dark stuff that we've judged, that we're working on letting go of. But I really want to see us shift, myself and everyone, shift to identifying with this power and really letting go of the resolved trauma, really letting go of any belief in separation, because that's the only thing that keeps us from being the heaven that we are.
Yeah, and I don't feel like that I can do that without being in the now moment. You know, being here now is that I'm experiencing and I'm opening to whatever is arising in this moment. It's an embrace of the whole experience. So I'm not pushing any of it away. And when I do that, a disturbance arises. What I'm saying is just being with it. And actually even feeling sensations in the body, like where, you know, do I feel disturbance in my solar plexus, or is it my back or neck that's hurting? And just be aware of the energy that's moving through, and just to not push it away. And I feel like that helps because it builds the spaciousness around whatever's arising. And just to know that it's okay as it is. I don't have to be afraid of it. I don't have to deny it. I don't have to suppress it. I can just be okay with what is arising right now.
And that's a process to get to there. For me, it was because I had to drop judgment, mostly of myself. And of course of others and of situations. But you're talking about being fully present and receptive, open to receive. That includes vulnerability. You know, you
Yeah.
said trust. I equate the two. You know,
Mm-hmm.
when we know that the universe is happening for us and not to us, that's another way of saying that we are one, that connection is real. The illusion is separation.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, my remembering that the universe is happening for me. So
Mm-hmm.
even if what's coming towards me looks tumultuous, or part of me shakes in its boots, you know, holding on to that truth that the Christ consciousness is who I am, that I am one with Christ in
Mm-hmm.
God, as God, with the name Karen this time around. And then whatever comes, I know that I can meet it, and it's coming for my good, not to hurt me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I used to have an image of the universe that wasn't very friendly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I looked at what was going on in my world, and that wasn't very friendly. So the universe wasn't changing that. So as a child, it didn't feel very friendly. So
Mm-hmm.
shifting from fear to love was a big step for me. And one of the things that made it easier was seeing that the universe is for me, not against me, that God did not abandon me. God is living as me. I've never been abandoned. And that was a huge healing.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
standing up with God in me is my power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's really where, you know, it's all our experience anyway. So why deny what is, like what it is arising right now? I can meet that in love. You know, I can meet that in tenderness. I can meet that in compassion, and I don't have to push it away or deny it. And you know, try to be something that, so it's all just arising right here and now. And I think that's like you said, it's the authenticity and the honesty and the vulnerability that goes with that.
Yeah,
And then when I do that, it's like it moves through, it passes through.
and it's important that we don't abandon ourselves to do that. I used to think I had to put myself on the back burner to accept what showed up. No,
Yeah.
that's
Mm-hmm.
leaving myself out. Loving myself is the first step. And
Mm-hmm.
that means knowing what I feel, what I want, and what I need in any given moment, and
Mm-hmm.
making room for that.
Yeah.
Loving myself, you know, loving, and I know there's no separation, but it feels like there is a self, you know, and so there's the world and there's opportunities, but we don't need to contort to accept them. We can accept them from the power of who we are, knowing that they're coming to support us, even if,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we feel inclined to judge them.
Mm-hmm.
Love
Yeah, again, it's all one experience too. So it's like the experiences that I'm having, whatever it is that's arising, it's not separate from me. So if I try to separate it, then there's a split between who I am and what I'm feeling. And so, you know, that's with
what
the
people
Course of
do.
Love says, you know, the true power also lies in there's no division between who you are and what you do, because you're in that seamless flow, and you're always anchored in the divine love of God. No matter what's going on around you, you're anchored in it. That's the ground of the being. It's our love. It's the truth of who we are, and we're always anchored in that, no matter what is going on around us.
No matter what, and it's where our attention and our belief take us that we identify.
Mm-hmm.
So the seamless garment in the Bible is
Yeah.
like what you refer to, the seamlessness of it all coming together. So we've divided it in part to stay safe, because if you're a threat and you're over there, I'm safer than if you're me. So, you know, that separation, we let go of the belief in separation. We've learned to accept all parts of ourselves without judgment, knowing that we're safe.
Mm-hmm.
We trade fear for trust, and a willingness to be vulnerable and intimate so that we can be known and we can know.
Mm-hmm.
If we won't allow ourselves to be known to ourselves, we can't know,
Mm-hmm.
because the kingdom of heaven is us.
Yes.
So opening to myself, whatever it is that's moving through, being vulnerable, knowing that I'm safe, is the goal that leads to this seamless garment that I am that I am.
Mm-hmm.
And that we can each say that and know that we're many facets of the one God, incarnated into form, appearing to be separate and knowing that we're not.
Mm-hmm.
There's real
Yeah.
power in that.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up too, that there's the elevated self of form, capital S, I feel like is also speaking to what you were speaking to earlier, is content and essence, which
Yes.
points us back to, like you said, it's beyond the words and it's all beyond the appearances. And when I'm sitting here having this dialogue and we're speaking in language, I mean, language is dualistic, and the Course of Miracles says, words are symbols of symbols, twice removed from reality. So really this is about, from the ground of our being, yeah, it's living from that truth.
Mhm.
And that's the alignment, or where the Course of Love says there's no division between who we are and what we do, the seamless garment, that's the wholeness. And it's also mentioned in A Course in Miracles, when it's in the second characteristic of a teacher of God, it's called honesty. And it says honesty is not the old paradigm of what, I'm going to tell you what I think about you. Honesty is consistency. And there's no division between who you are and what you do. So there's not a split anymore between the mind and the heart. And it says in honesty, in that section of the manual for teachers and ACIM, that someone at one with themselves cannot be in conflict with anything or anyone.
Yes, ma'am.
When you're standing and anchoring in that true power and you're living in the truth, that's your ground of
You become
being.
the truth. You become the truth.
You become it. And as within, so without, the world is, just an outward picture of an inward condition. And so if I'm not split, I don't have a split mind or a split identity, and I'm in that state of honesty and consistency, and there's no division, then there's no conflict outwardly. I'm not going to experience that. I'm not going to generate division and conflict if I don't have internal conflict. And again, that's a process. I'm not trying to say that this all can be done in a split second, as we're saying, but just wanted to bring that up too, that I just see so many similarities in all of what we're speaking of with the Course in Miracles and A Course of Love. That's all.
It feels like it's a becoming, but it's just an uncovering.
Yeah.
We already are what we're discovering here.
We already are that. Yeah.
We could never be different than we always have been.
Yeah.
And always will be. So it's an undressing God, I call it.
Yeah, there you go. And
We're
it's like that all this seeking and striving is we finally come to that point where we realize what we're seeking for, it's already here.
It's already here. And the expression, and then what gets fun is the expression of the truth becomes the purpose for living.
Yes.
Bring love into the experience.
Right.
To be the love in the experience becomes the reason for being.
Yeah.
It's like we finally woke up and we're doing what we came to do. But we fell asleep in this nightmare of a belief of separation. And we're waking up from that and remembering who we are and what we are. And we are divine beings of love. And that's what we do. We love.
Yeah.
The end of the Course of Love says, you are love. So be it.
So be it. Yep. Or be still and know that I am God. That's Psalm 46:10. Yeah, that sums it up. And yeah, for me, yeah, so it's allowing that love to flow through us. And that's the allowing the living waters of truth to move through us. And to me, that's, the body just becomes the vessel to express the love of who we are.
Exactly. The permeable vessel. We talk about pass through and A Course of Love. We let go of all that trauma and all the conditioning and all the illusions we've been holding, cherished illusions, those beliefs we always thought were true but found out they aren't. We let go of all of that, and the body takes on more light because it's not carrying the old baggage. And the body itself becomes permeable, and pass through becomes so much easier. Acceptance becomes so much easier. And the body heals and merges too, the seamless garment. So we're not to be without form here on this experience. It's just that we aren't the form, we're the content in the form.
Yes, the essence, right. Yeah, exactly. The essence.
Woo-hoo!
So anyway, so I think we're going to have to wrap it up. We're over time now. So thank you so much for joining. And Karen, maybe we can take this further and have another part 2 of this dialogue, because I think, it can expand to so much more. There's always more. And so anyway, thank you everyone. Yeah, for listening. Go ahead.
I just appreciate the opportunity to speak about truth and what I've experienced of it, and just bless all of us on our journey home.
Yeah.
That we never left.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Grace, peace, and love to everyone. Have a beautiful day or evening wherever you are.